All right, what's up, everybody? So, I was trying to come up with what I wanted to talk about today. I have a few different ideas, but for whatever reason, nothing was really sticking out to me. I figured I haven't really done just a regular voiceover type video. I think probably since like the 18-inch arm series, where I just record my training and kind of discuss the training, discuss a couple other things on my mind, answer a couple questions and whatnot. Figured this was the perfect time for it. So, this is my full upper body session from the commercial gym yesterday. I filmed every single set. Nothing went unfilmed. Got the whole thing. So the reason why I'm doing upper lower right now instead of a push pull legs variation that I've been on for a long time is because I want to experiment with higher frequency training, and I also want to experiment with having more days off of training. Both of these things appeal to me. The first thing that appeals to me is having less days overall in the gym. And the reason for that isn't because I'm feeling lazy or I don't like being in the gym. I really do, like, as much of a struggle as it is to get in for a lift in some cases, a lot of the time it almost just leads me to feel a little bit more like, I wouldn't say burnt out, but I guess a little bit more numb to training. It just becomes part of my routine instead of something I'm looking forward to do that I don't get to do every day. And I think that positive anticipation just leads to better effort and better focus during my sessions anyways. I find that I'm less likely to like want to leave the gym early, or like it's easier for me to kind of like be excited to go and I start off really strong. A lot of the time when I'm lifting 5, 6 days a week, like while it can work physically on paper and everything, like I get good gains to training that way. I have a hard time like getting my mind into the session, and it usually takes till I'm like halfway done with it for me to like kind of get into the zone. And I feel like just having that focus and that excitement to train is really important. So that's why I'm giving myself more off days these days, as kind of like counterintuitive as that might seem. I also almost equally as much want to experiment with higher frequency training. This is something I haven't done in a really long time since I've like completely ramped up my intensity and gotten 18-inch arms, done all that kind of stuff. And it's something I just want to see how it goes. So instead of my usual more days in the gym but less frequency per muscle, so instead of training a muscle every 3 or 4 days and being in the gym more often than not, I'm going to do full upper sessions, and that kind of includes every muscle in the upper body. And I'm still kind of deciding what I want to do for my back, because usually I'll shift traps to the lower days, but I have to decide if I want to do 2 leg days or one. Of course, if I do two leg days per week, that kind of overrides what I just said about being in the gym less often. But I can see myself also just rotating between the two, whether it's every month, every couple months or something. If I'm feeling motivated to train legs and I would want to be in the gym, maybe it's the middle of winter and I'm kind of bored otherwise and I'd rather just dedicate my time to lifting, maybe I'll give that a go for a couple months and just kind of like kickstart my leg growth. I could also see myself doing a situation where I even just go kind of based on feel. So if I want to go in 2 times a week to train legs, like I'll do it. And on weeks that I don't feel like it, I'll just do one session. And that way I'm kind of like maybe maintaining progress some weeks, making progress other weeks, and it's overall going to be a slower rate of progress, but it will be solid progress, at least maintenance for some phases. So that's pretty much it as far as like the program update is going. I guess another thing I could talk about would just be how many days a week I'm going to be in the commercial gym. So for leg training, I really do prefer the machines at the commercial gym. I love hack squats, I love leg press, and I love pendulum squats. I don't really enjoy my leg press at the home gym. Pretty much maxed it out at this point. It's just you have to do super high reps to get close to failure. It's just not really enjoyable at all. I'd rather just do a leg press or hack squat and be in the commercial gym. So as of now, for upper body training, what I'm thinking is 2 sessions per week at the home gym, 1 session per week at the commercial gym. As far as my schedule goes, I'm pumped to get back into the gym more regularly at this point. I've been having to do upper sessions just out of like convenience's sake for the past few weeks lately, just because I kind of just scheduled all my traveling for basically the year within like a 6 week span. So I've been all over the place, like lifting and filming whenever I can. And I'm ready to just kind of settle back into a normal routine like us lifters kind of enjoy. I owe shoutouts to both Boost Camp and Barbell Apparel, my two channel sponsors. My schedule's been all over the place the past few weeks, and they've continued to support the channel per usual. I owe them a huge shout out. So I wanted to talk about Boost Camp first. This is a fun release. This is my home gym upper lower split. It's the home gym variation of the upper lower split that I released a couple months ago with Boost Camp. Basically, what this is, it's assuming you have the basic home gym equipment that you see in most cases, which is going to be a squat rack, adjustable dumbbells, pull up bar, etc. I also have variations and rotations in if you do have upgraded equipment. So if you have something like a Smith machine or a T-bar row, a lat pull down, a cable tower, the rotations, aka the upgrades, are in there for you to change lifts as you please. Barbell Apparel, my other channel sponsor, coming up on a year working with them, couldn't be happier with their product and how they support the channel. Go check them out. I got a link in my description to check my own personal collection, as well as the Basement Bodybuilding tee. Anytime you spend more than $99 at Barbell Apparel, you get a free hoodie. They're $88. It's a great value. Check out the link in my description if you want to support the channel and get some sick gym gear. As far as like the duration of this experiment, what I'm thinking is I'll probably finish out the year, the calendar year, with this program and this split. Overall, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, but I am curious to see what the higher frequency offers as far as like just getting more opportunities to stimulate growth and also getting less potential risk for muscle loss. At this point in training, I could see just like the slower rate of progress being overridden by the little bit of regression that you see going 3 or 4 days between sessions. It might sound a little bit nitpicky, but I am curious just to see what it's like now that I'm a little bit more advanced. So either way, that's kind of it as far as the program goes. That's my thoughts on everything. Let's talk about some of these actual lifts that I'm going to be doing in this session. So as of now, I've missed talking about the Cybex chest press, and obviously this is going to be my one commercial gym session of the week. So the Cybex chest press, the reason why I wanted to try this, this is the first lift that you saw me do in the session. The reason why I want to do this is because it converges and there's tension on that convergence. You're not just pressing the dumbbells together like a dumbbell bench. You're not just pressing like a machine that might converge a little bit without any tension. It's actual cables that are pulling outwards a little bit. So it is kind of a unique movement in that way, and it is interesting to have a lot of tension in the short position. So am I getting as much of a stretch? No. Am I getting a whole ton of tension all the way at the back? Not a whole ton, but it's a pretty good amount of tension throughout the movement. It's still a mid to lengthen bias lift, but getting that full lockout with that convergence just because the pecs are so weak in that position, and it's kind of like a novel position to be pressing in with high tension, it really is a unique press, and I figured at least just give it a try. So it's a cool piece. It is very stable because there is back support. I know some of you guys will say it's not a stable lift because it's cables, and yeah, cables aren't going to be the most stable thing, but the back support is that's the like bread and butter of stability. An unstable lift would be doing a press or a fly without that back support. That's going to be what makes up most of the mandatory stability in my opinion here. The next lift that you saw me do was a cable front raise. These are going to be lengthen biased. They are training my front delts with a lot of tension at the bottom, and that's usually where tension is going to be a little bit less when you're doing overhead presses. These are also a little bit more joint friendly. You're basically getting a good amount of stimulus out of less weight. If I'm going to be doing higher frequency, I usually run into problems with pressing and recovery for the chest and shoulder joints. Not obviously, not the chest joint, that's not a thing, but the shoulder joint from my chest and shoulder pressing. So I figured instead of doing a bunch of overhead pressing, I would sprinkle in a little bit of this front raise type work. And yeah, it's been cool to kind of get some front raises, and I haven't done those since I was literally a beginner lifter, and those have been pretty enjoyable overall. Low fatigue, but you can smoke your delts that way. It doesn't matter that it's not systemically fatiguing. After that, I did some partial Y raises, and I don't mean partial as in the range of motion. I mean they're not quite a Y raise where you're going all the way up, but it's not quite like a reverse fly where you're at shoulder level. It's kind of like a happy medium between the two. Those train the rear delts and the side delts very well, very straightforward there. I'm standing pretty close to the cable itself, so it is going to be a little bit more lengthen biased, which is unique for my personal rear delt training. I usually do a short partial on the reverse pec deck. Machine dips after that, big fat range of motion, trying to get as much tricep as I can in there and as much elbow bend as I can. It's a great lift. It's not as good as the jam press if I had to pick one, but it's a really good alternative, and it is enjoyable just to do at the commercial gym just for the sake of novelty. Overhead extensions after that. For technique here, the first that was just me repping it out. People are going to call me out in the comments. I don't care. That was just for fun. just grabbed an easy bar and I just wanted to rep it out for as many reps as I could. I don't care if I wasn't locking out. I don't care if my eccentrics weren't slow. My triceps in the long head are very sore today, and they have been the past couple times I've done these. The second set was my ideal recommended form. So if you're going to copy my form, I would suggest using that for maximum gains. The performance is much different than the first set. I think I'd lost like 12 reps, but either way, it was a very potent set. It doesn't matter that I didn't get all those reps. I took the muscle to failure, which is what I'm trying to do. After that, what you saw me do was T-bar rows. Okay, yeah, it was T-bar rows. My form here is very much trap focused. I get a huge range of motion, so I do round forwards a little bit and let my scaps and my shoulders protract as much as I can. As I row, I'm not just rowing and pivoting at the shoulders. I'm not just pulling with my arms. I am obviously pulling with my arms because you have to, but I'm focusing on bringing my shoulders, my scaps from protraction all the way back, not just to where they kind of naturally fall, but into a full retraction and depression, which is what the traps are going to be in charge of. So my traps, mid and low, getting smoked on that lift, and the resistance profile of the T-bar row, especially the chest supported ones with a very small lever that you actually row with, the resistance profile matches your internal strength curve really, really well, and I am doing my best to try and find one that I can buy for the home gym so I can do these a little bit more often. Up next, you're seeing me do these strict cable curls. These are kind of a staple in my training. They're not always in my program, but these are definitely a go-to. So maybe staple wasn't the right word because you can't really take out a staple and put it back in. So terrible analogy, sorry guys, but it is definitely one of my go-to kind of bread and butter lifts if I had to use a more proper analogy. My cues for this. For form, what I would do is if you can use a cable post, it works really well because you don't have a chunky dumbbell that can hit the wall. If you're able to use a rack post or another type of like column or pole that allows the dumbbell to not hit a wall, then that obviously lets you get a good amount of range of motion. I do prefer the cable just because that added stability does feel pretty good. It's I'm not going to say it's mandatory or anything. It's just kind of a preference thing. My cues for this: try and get to parallel. Parallel would be your forearm being parallel in reference to the floor. Do the biggest rep that you can as far as range of motion goes. Drive your elbow into the post or the wall or whatever you're curling on. Prove that you're at failure too. So you don't just want to do full reps until it gets hard and then go into partials. You want to prove that you cannot get to peak resistance, aka parallel. The way that I prove this is I wait until I get to a sticking point at or below peak resistance for 1 to 2 full seconds. You saw it right there. I tried as hard as I could, and I could not budge the weight for a second or two, like full seconds, not just a little one count, because life goes at half speed when you're underweight. So, not underweight in body weight, but like when your muscle is underweight. Sorry to confuse everybody. So, with that, what I would do, prove to yourself they're at failure, and then continue into partials, do as many as you can, and then obviously you can kind of tell when it's a little bit redundant, when the weight barely budges. Another kind of advanced technique I use, I'll grab the post with my other hand and I'll put it right above my elbow. I'll lean back a little bit and then I'll get some length in partials in. You won't be able to do much since you'll be pretty much fried all the way already, but it is what it is, kind of worth trying, just a little bonus tip. This is the Arsenal Preacher Curl. This is even more length and bias than a regular preacher curl, so peak resistance is all the way at the bottom. I'm doing this just to remain very good at length and biased curls, and I also think they're just best for growth overall. I wanted to take a little bit of a break from preacher curls and give this machine a go, because if I'm going to be at the commercial gym, I really do enjoy this. It adds a little bit of variety, and I think it might help my forearm splints overall, since I can be a little bit prone to those on preacher curls with higher frequencies. This will change it up, keep it fresh. Either way, that's the whole workout for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.